Hey, Beastista here, and welcome to week 3 of the VDL. Currently, we're 2-0 plus 4, so we're in a great position, and hopefully, we're going to be able to continue doing well this season. However, we're playing against a good coach, Gert Bilbo, coach of the Old English Ice Cube. I actually recently played against them in another league in the WDC, and we had a really tight 3-game set. And so we'll see if this happens again. Looking at their team on the right, we can see they have some very concerning Pokemon. The big Pokemon that I'm in particularly concerned with is mainly going to be the Grimmsnarl Garchomp, because that's really good damage, very high disruption for the Grimmsnarl. And then if you look at their speed tiers, they have two Pokemon, 30 base speed, which completely underspeeds my entire team. They have Slowking, who's a very good damage dealer and Trick Room setter, and then Copper Roger and Trick Room can do massive damage. So I'm very concerned about both Trick Room and then the ability to just Grimmsnarl with screen support or, um, you know, parting shot support or thunder wave support and things like that. And then in addition to that, they do have redirection with Venomoth and some setup Pokemon with like bulk up and nasty plots and quiver dances. So definitely a lot of things that there. And so the big idea is I kind of want to get rid of their ability to set up. And the way in which I did that is this, which is if you look at these Pokemon, they're all incredibly offensive leaning, and most of them are very fast leaning on top of that. So we start with Bruxish with Choice Scarf. So the idea with Bruxish with Choice Scarf is one, it outspeeds everything on their team except for Garchomp with a Choice Scarf. In addition, it prevents them from using Parting Shot, Thunder Wave, and other like fake out style moves into my team because of its ability Dazzling. And we have Psychic Fangs in order to break screens if they set it up with Grimmsnarl. And other than that, Crunch and Water Crash or Wave Crash do huge damage to their team, and then Icy Wind can help one of my more offensive leaning Pokemon that's not as fast outspeed. Next up, we have Staraptor. Staraptor is a huge component of my team this week because this is actually the main way in which I'm planning on stopping Slowking and Garchomp, because Terra Normal Choice Band Double Edge is a guaranteed one-hit KO on Garchomp, Slowking, and Rotom. And so if I'm able to outspeed any of those Pokemon, I'm able to kill them easily without them being able to touch my Staraptor. We decided to go with Intimidate over Reckless because I do not want to take, max damage from their physical move Pokemon, specifically Garchomp, if I can avoid it. There's a good chance they might do Clear Emerald on Garchomp. However, if they aren't, the Intimidate can be really impactful, making me be able to take an attack or two from the Garchomp so I can kill it even if I don't outspeed. Next up, we have Breloom. Breloom's pretty straightforward. One, it's a grass Pokemon, so it ignores the redirection from Venomoth because its redirection is Rage Powder. We have Spore to hit whoever is theoretically trying to be protected with the Venomoth. Other than that, we have Brick Break to also deal with screens and do pretty good damage. Bullet Seed, which should kill most Slow Kings if I get more than 2 hits. And then Stone Edge Dish to hit the rest of the team. With Terra Rock, so I can take the fire coverage a little bit better and the flying coverage a little bit better, but mainly just to increase the damage from Stone Edge. Next up, we have Booster Energy Iron Treads with Terra Flying. So the idea with this is the Booster Energy is gonna get a speed boost, which means we should outspeed everything on their team except for Garchomp with the Choice Scarf. And we have Stomping Tantrum. Iron Hedge says good stab damage that hits most of the team. We have Ice Spinner to hit Garchomp for big damage, and then Knockoff for both disruption and a way to hit some of their other Pokemon like Slowking for a good chunk of damage. Next up, we have Fluttermane with Choice Specs. So the idea with Fluttermane is Choice Specs Fluttermane one-hit KOs a lot of things on their team. One-hit KOs Slitherwing, and one-hit KOs Garchomp with Moonblast. If I Terra Ghost, it has a good chance to one-hit KO Slowking. It has a good chance to one-hit KO Garchomp with a Terra Ghost Shadow Ball as well. And then finally, we have Hariyama. So the main idea with Hariyama is I don't really plan on bringing it much. I plan on bringing it if they are able to get Trick Room up consistently, and I don't think I can deal with it. And so I just tear up in Trick Room and try to kill some of their Pokemon. And so anyways, so that's the team, and let's get into the match. So before the start of the match, this is what we were given. These are the Terra types of the team. None of them are super noteworthy. The biggest thing that I actually saw looking into this was that Grimmsnarl and Slowking weren't on the team, which is huge. In addition, they don't have any grass Terra types, which means that for the most part, Spore and Breloom can be pretty good. But with that, let's get into the match. Here we are for game one. So, like I said when I looked at their team sheet, um, I did not think Hariyama seems particularly relevant now because they don't have their trick room mode. I not particularly a huge fan of Breloom because they have an extra flying Pokemon and they have a couple Pokemon that more Pokemon that outspeed it than I was expecting. And so I want two Pokemon that are fairly fast that outspeed both Oricorio and Venomoth, which are mainly my top four. I feel like leading Bruxish because I just think it's going to be a good damage dealer, and then Fluttermane. The big idea is I 100% with Staraptor in the back because it is going to be my main way to deal with both uh, Slitherwing and Garchomp and Rotom, honestly. And so kind of just having it in the back so it doesn't get chipped by some of these leading Pokemon is big. So with that, let's get into the game. So they end up leading the Oricorium Venomoth, which is kind of more or less what I expected. And so the big idea is to just try to get some damage and maybe kill the Venomoth or the Oricorio to prevent something like a Quiver Dance. I decided to double up into the Venomoth spot to play around them going for a Protect on Oricorio and a Quiver Dance on Venomoth. Here, I'm concerned about the fact that Venomoth is Terra Dark, and I don't really want to go for a Shadow Ball because if they Shadow Ball, it punishes me a little bit. So I decided to go with Power Gym. However, I definitely think this is a misplay because for Bruxis is Psychic Fang specifically because I thought about Terra Dark when I was making my decision with the Fluttermane, but I didn't think about the Terra Dark with my decision with Bruxis. So I 100% should have gone for Wave Crash just to play around a possible Terra Dark. However, luckily for me, we're able to just get the clean kill on Venomoth. And I brought it almost down to what would have been a Sash. I'm expecting it to be Focus Sash. And with us, they're able to get up Tailwind, though. And so now they're going to outspeed me, even though I have two really fast Pokemon. And on top of that, both of my Pokemon are fairly frail, so it's a little bit awkward positioning for me. And they just bring out Garchomp. And so here I expect Garchomp to just go for an Iron Head and Oricorio to go for a Ghost move into Bruxish. And so I think switching out Bruxish into Staraptor seems pretty safe. And honestly, switching out Fluttermane into Iron Treads also seems fairly safe. And so there's an argument that I should do both of those. However, I decided to just go for the one switch in stay in case they go for something like a Stomping Tantrum or Rock Slide to play around me tearing my Fluttermane and getting rid of my Steel weakness. So I switch into the Staraptor, intimidating both of them. And Garchomp has Clear Amulet, which is more or less kind of expected. And in addition to that, they go for a Terra, the Terrifier, the Garchomp. So here, the Oricorio goes for a Ghost move into the Staraptor, which means I got a free switch in there, and they go for the Iron Head into the Fluttermane, which definitely hurts. Sadly, if I would have Terra, I might have I probably survived that. However, it's not the end of the world because now I can just bring in the Iron Treads, which should be able to take a move from either of these pretty well, and I can threaten to kill both of these Pokemon. We get the booster energy, so get the speed boost. However, I'm still going to be outsped by both these Pokemon. And so here I just go for the Terra Normal Double Edge, which should guarantee kill Garchomp, and go for the knockoff into the Oricorio. I don't think that they should be able to kill either of these Pokemon unless they double up, and it seems like there's a good chance that Oricorio's only offensive move is going to be Ghost Coverage. And in addition to this, my Terra Normal gets rid of my Rock weakness, which seems like a possibility that Garchomp's going to go for something like Rock Slide. And we get the Terra Normal Staraptor, and they go for Revelation Dance into the Iron Treads, doing very good damage. And they go for a Rock Slide, which luckily for me doesn't do much damage to either of these Pokemon because of the Terra and the resisting from Iron Treads. And luckily for me, we get a one hit KO on Oricorio thanks to a crit. I don't know if I would have killed without the crit, but probably not. In addition, we also see safety goggles on Oricorio. And at this point, I feel like I'm in great shape because this double edge is a guaranteed one hit KO, and we get a massive damage and get the kill. Now we're up 3-0. And now I don't see much that can get us out of this game, or get them out of this game. And they just bring in Slitherwing, and so now I have a very clean decision on how to beat this as they get an attack boost with booster energy, meaning that my Iron Treads and Staraptor should outspeed. So I decided to switch out the Staraptor because they still have one more turn of Tailwind and just go for a Iron Head into the Slitherwing. Like I said, the reason behind this is to just get a guaranteed in game, because next turn, if one of these Pokemon on this field die, I can just bring back out Staraptor, and Brave Bird is a guaranteed kill, and I am guaranteed outspeed. They just end up going for acrobatics into that spot, and my Bruxus is able to survive, and I get an Iron Head off, which does pretty good damage. And now with the Tailwind being over, this is pretty much just a guaranteed in game in which we can just Psychic Fangs and Iron Heads to get the kill. They end up protecting to stall out and probably get a little bit more information. Probably main thing is just to see what type of moves I have and guarantee that Bruxus is choice scarf, I guess. But at this point, the game's pretty much over. And this game definitely went very well. I think the crit on Oricorio helped a little bit, but I think the big thing that kind of, you know, that was really relevant was that switch into the ghost move and the ability for them to kind of be a little bit surprised on the one-hit KO from Staraptor into the Garchomp. And the Psychic Fangs ended up killing the Slitherwing, and we end up winning game 1, 3-0. And with that, let's get into game 2. Here we are for game 2. Game 1 went very well, and I still don't think that Breloom or Hariyama seems particularly relevant. And so the big question is just how do I want to arrange the top 4 again? Because neither of those seem particularly well, especially with the safety goggles on the Oricorio, and Hariyama just not outspeeding anything. And so I think once again I want to lead Bruxus just because of damage, and once again I think I want Staraptor in the back because I think it's very good in the back, this specific matchup. And so the big question is if I want Bruxus as the lead and Staraptor in the back, which of Iron Treads and Fluttermane do I want to be in the front? And I decide to just go with Iron Treads. This kind of plays around possibly them having like some sort of scarf mod. I can knock off their scarf, and also just gives me the most damage output in the back. So if I can get through the first couple of Pokemon, I can kind of just get very clean kills in the back. And so with that, let's get into the match. They end up leading in Rotom and Oricorio into my Bruxus and Iron Treads. So this is definitely a little awkward of a lead because Rotom threatens both of my Pokemon for possible one-hit KOs. However, they can also get Tailwind up, which would mean they can also get speed control. So this is really awkward, and I don't think I can one-hit KO Oricorio, especially if they decide to Terra into Terra Fairy. And so I decided to just split up my moves and go for a Wave Crash and a knockoff into the Rotom. I don't know if Wave Crash will kill Oricorio. Obviously, it'd be really nice if it does. However, I do think that knocking off Rotom can be very helpful, especially for the late game, and hopefully they can't get Tailwind up this turn. So they end up tearing Electric Rotom, probably to get rid of their fire weakness or their water weakness, and going for a protect on Oricorio. Good thing I didn't double up to prevent Trick Room there. Sadly though, the Wave Crash does get blocked. However, we do get reasonable damage with a knockoff and Rotom losing its berry, and they just go for a nice Thunderbolt into the Bruxus, getting a kill on it. So definitely a little bit sad. We did lose a Pokemon in turn 1, and all we got for it is, Rotom losing its item and maybe like 30% damage. However, at this point, we are pretty happy because we can bring in Fluttermane, which threatens both of these Pokemon with one-hit KOs. And so we bring out the Fluttermane, and the big question here is, was that knockoff onto Oricorio last game important or not to killing it? And I think it was, and so I decided to go for the Shadow Ball into the Oricorio spot and just go for a little bit of damage into the Rotom with Ice Spinner. I think that I didn't really need a Terra here. I think the extra damage is completely unnecessary, because I should be able to kill this Oricorio without the Terra. However, I do think the targeting is correct because I don't think that Rotom can threaten Fluttermane, and I don't really care about Iron Treads here. And the big important thing is just prevent Tailwind so I can outspeed for the rest of the game. As we can see, the Ice Spinner does very little damage. And we just go for a Shadow Ball and get the kill into Oricorio. Like I said, that Terra might have been unnecessary, and having a Terra later on could be very relevant. And as we see, though, they just go for an Overheat and getting the clean one-hit KO into Iron Treads. There is definitely no way in which I can survive that. That just does massive damage into it. However, I feel pretty good because now Staraptor can come in and both of my Pokemon theoretically can kill almost anything that they bring out. And so they just bring out Garchomp, and I bring out my Staraptor. And I feel like this is a pretty good position because from my testing, Iron or Terra Ghost Shadow Ball normally kills Garchomp. And in addition to that, Double Edge should pretty much guarantee kill Rotom from this range. And so I should be able to outspeed both these Pokemon and get a one hit KO with both these Pokemon. And that would put me in an amazing position and basically almost guarantee me the win here. And we get the Shadow Ball off into the Garchomp, which is going to do mass damage and should kill based on my testing, and it just misses out on the kill. And however, Staraptor outspeeds Garchomp, killing the Rotom, which is huge. That extra bulk on the Garchomp, which is huge at letting it survive, did not mean it didn't have the extra speed for Staraptor to outspeed. However, they just go for a stopping tantrum, which means both my Pokemon are alive and both my Pokemon outspeed the Garchomp, which is huge for next turn. Um, and now we have two Pokemon, both of my Pokemon outspeed, and Slitherwing just comes in with an attack boost. And because Staraptor outspeeds, I'm in a great position because I'm able to Shadow Ball into Slitherwing and go for the double edge into the Garchomp instead of the other way around. Because Shadow Ball should kill Slitherwing, however, the double edge might not kill the Slitherwing from max HP. So we get the Shadow Ball and goes into the Slitherwing and it gets the one hit KO. And now with Staraptor outspeeding, the game should be completely over. And we do outspeed again and get the kill. And we get a nice 2-0 victory over Gert, starting off my season 3-0 plus 6, the best I've done thus far in the VDL, which is huge. Definitely a very different game than I was expecting. They like I said, no Garchomp or no Grimmsnarl, no Slowking were definitely surprising to me. However, that my game plan definitely worked as I was expecting. A lot of fast Pokemon, really huge damage output, did a lot of work. But with that, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and see you all next time.